seeing this year the transformation, and it wasn't like it was easy. Like it was hell for the last year, like digging out of this thing. But now that they've turned that corner, it's like, holy cow, the things that they learned, they got wiser, smarter. The team is better this year going into 2026, man. 2026 for them is going to be a huge year. I mean, they're going to be stupid profitable and they're going to do some great things. But it's also having a little bit of outside perspective and help reminding. It's easy to even get down on yourselves and we're not where we want to be. It's like, yeah, you're not where you want to be, but holy cow, look at how far you've come from where you were. So today we were wanting, I was thinking about wanting to talk about the idea of like celebrating wins. And it was interesting. I think part of it came from last week. I was in Montana and got to sit down for, I don't know, a couple hours and just journal on, looking back over the quarter, which I love to do with teams. So every time I go into a quarterly session with a team, first thing we do is we talk about like what were some of the best, like give me some wins from the last quarter. Because it's amazing how easy it is to just get into the routine, right? And you sit down and you just go, 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 go. And maybe something good happens and then you kind of register it a little bit or you high five somebody. But to actually take the time to think back and say, what are the things that we actually learned? What did we gain? What great things happened in the last 90 days it's a cool practice. And I can't remember if we've talked about this or not. We were talking before and I don't think so, but the idea, it's a book that I love and I recommend to people all the time. It's called The Gap in the Gain by Dan Sullivan. The idea being that a lot of times, especially people that are high performers or leaders, that they're constantly looking for the next thing. Like they don't, and I think there's some merit there because we don't want to just rest, right? We don't want to just rest on our laurels and take that for granted, especially in sports. We were just talking about, your guys' football season and stuff, but not resting and being comfortable, complacent with where we're at, but always constantly pushing and pushing and pushing. But a lot of times what happens with high performers is that can lead to some sort of burnout because you're always going, you're always looking for the next. And sometimes you just need to stop for a second. You need to look backwards, say, yeah, but look how far we've come. And here are the things that we've done. And here's how much better we are now than we were 6 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago or whatever. And by having that view, it puts you in competition with yourself more than anybody else, right? It's not the social media. I'm trying to keep up with the Kardashians. I'm keeping up with a better version of me all the time. So yeah, so it was interesting. And then we just haven't hung out for a long time. So I thought it'd be fun to catch up, and I want to hear about the football season and how guys are progressing and what wins you're seeing there, what wins you've seen in your own life this year, goals that you set that you're now, I don't know, coming into. So
Sure.
I don't know. When I go through all that
Yeah, I
and
like
riff
it.
for a while, what comes to mind?
I like it. Well, I mean, we were talking about it's easy to think about wins when you're talking about sports because sports is truly measured, via the scoreboard, right? So, yeah, this has been my first year coaching um my our high school team here in East Helena, and uh it has been a blast. We recently did a senior night. What it was is we would there was like a fire pit where um like seniors gather around, and they'd kind of recollect their high school career, and they'd bring with them like a some sort of memento to throw into the fire. And we had some kids that brought, shoelaces and mouth guards, and it symbolized something, right? It's something that they can look back on, and um uh like, and kind of and put it into an item, and then kind of talk about it.
Sure.
And yeah, and so there's a lot of talk about uh like like how they were when they got here, and the program and what state it was in. And it wasn't it was on the up and up. And when I say up and up, like, winning a game in a season kind of deal, right? But that's what that's what progress is, right? You got to start somewhere. Um, to now, right? Being a team that's um uh, a force to be reckoned with, I believe, right? And then uh having those team goals, and then also having their own personal goals. We had one senior, just a really good kid too. They're all actually pretty good kids. Talk about he had a piece of paper that had a bunch of core values on him from his first year, and he's had that in front of his binder since the beginning.
Wow.
And it's said a lot of the core values that are now, um, like, in action within the team, right? It has become part of the culture. And so, our head coach was, I think he got pretty emotional because, and I think the emotional part of it is like what we're saying. We pause for a second and we can look back,
Hmm.
uh, maybe not in detail, but there's there's an emotional tie from where we've been to where we are now, and what we're setting forth into the future. And the future looks bright for East Helena Vigilantes football. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was you know it was we're hosting a playoff game for the first time in our high school's early early years of sports, and just the birth of our high school, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
For people that don't know, like East Helena, like when it just became a high school, like
yeah,
4 years ago, 3 years, 5,
about
6.
6
Okay.
years?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah. So when you're saying like it's brand new, it's not that, just this random city showed up, but the high school has like, it's brand new. So,
yeah. And even building identities like that, and what your high school is gonna be all about, and what you're known for. I mean, we at this and the team we just played last week, just rooted in tradition of winning, right? And for
mm,
us to dominate all facets of the game, it really, uh, it culminated into really a playoff berth, and we're hosting. Um, but also, I haven't coached, but I've seen our high school. My son was part of this growing process and these growing pains from the very beginning. And even though I didn't coach, I was still part. My wife and I were invested in this community, right? It's an exciting time for us to see the fruits of the hard work that the coaching staff. Man, our coach worked really hard and is steady in what he's trying to teach the kids. And um, it's really good. We have a saying this year. Uh, you know, when we first started out, so what, now what, right? Meaning last year we finally eclipsed the goal, which is to make it to the playoffs, right? But okay, now we made it. So what? So, so what now what? Right? So that meaning what's next? Um, but we've been really good about um, celebrating those wins along the way.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been good, man. So that's
That's,
kind of like, maybe some, like I said, some wins, uh, when it comes to sports, and watching athletes kind of develop. And um, like I said, our senior classes. I spoke at the fire too. Kind of all the coaches spoke, and I kind of took it from the angle as a parent. because I've coached some of these kids. I've seen some of these kids when Ty was young. My son Ty was younger, and running drills at a coach's house who's also there. He's not a coach right now, but he's been in these kids' lives for a long time, um, and uh, it's just it was really cool, talking to them and saying that if my son was hanging out with you, you know how it is, right? Like your son's asking you, or you have a child, and they're like, "Hey, I'm going out to go have some fun with some people." Our first question as parents is like, "Who are you
We
going with?"
yeah,
Right? And so, and that's exactly how I kind of phrased it. I said, I have no problem at all if you tell me it's one of these seniors, go have fun, and I can go to bed at night and lay my head down and be like, okay, I'll see you when I see you, and I know things are going to be good. That's the kind of quality and caliber of these seniors that we have.
that's
So
cool.
yeah,
That's super cool. It's interesting too, like, as you're talking about, like, the culture of the high school, because it's I think it's also, like, reflective of the culture of the town, and you and I have talked a lot about, East Helena being the city on a hill, which when I was a kid in East Helena, Montana, they were known as the Leadheads, and that's where if you wanted to go get in trouble, that's where you go, right? So it's even cool to just hear that transformation in the last, 25 years, just how the culture is very different. And I wonder why that is. Like, it's interesting. I wonder what are the key components that have turned it that way. So I don't know if you have insight into that, but it's just interesting to me.
I think that Helena is. I think I saw this somewhere. Maybe I read it in one of the papers, Montana papers, where it was saying that East Helena is one of the fastest growing towns in Montana.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and you've been here, man. Like,
Sure, it's a lot growing.
the neighborhoods that are popping up here, it's, you know, there's a lot. And I think that, maybe some of that has to do with it, right? Um, I also think that, and here's what I like to think is that there are there are folks in like leadership positions or positions of influence that um are character filled. I would like to say that are godly and principled in you know the ways of God, and you know what I mean. Like I think that's my hope is why there's been shifts um in maybe how the town looks. Is it still does it still have its rough patches? 100%, man. I think there's
Yeah,
there's
I think
always
every
going to
town's
be.
that way, right? I
Yeah,
mean, every
every
town.
town's that way,
Yeah,
man, and you know it's all good.
nice. Yeah, I was. Um, so I'm curious the this whole idea, because I mean, sports is always an easy one to look at, and it's amazing to me how many times, like, companies or organizations, like, we use sports as an analogy all the time because it's an easy one to wrap our heads around, right?
Right,
Yeah, you
right,
either are winning or you are losing. You either won the game or you lost the game. But I think even the deeper things, like you spoke to, like culture, and how many times people don't take that concept into, like, a work environment, like a business environment. It's like, well, your business has a culture, and you either are winning or you are not winning, right? And the culture is either uplifting and pushing in a positive direction or it's not. And same with coaches too, right? You either have coaches and people that are pushing you and mentoring you and making you better, or you're just kind of figuring it out on your own. It was interesting, like, I guess, in the sports thing. So Peyton, we just played this last weekend. He had a soccer tournament, and he's played on three different teams this year, just kind of randomly because of the way that he's in seventh grade. And so he played up on a team, seventh, eighth grade team, but then he played also on the sixth, seventh team. And then he played for this team in Salem, and he was like the only white kid on the team. And he was like one of 3 white kids in the league, which was awesome, and everybody spoke Spanish. So it was great. I mean, it was a much harder game than what he's playing with a bunch of white kids. Um, but it was really cool to see him develop, because up into this year, I mean, he's always kind of like, yeah, like this mediocre player. But seeing him for whatever reason this year, he just transformed, got super aggressive, and became like the leading scorer on all these teams. So they went to this tournament, and the older team, and they were clearly outmatched. I mean, they were the other team was much better, but the kids were great. They didn't give up, and they actually got it all the way to penalty kick shootout, because you're in a tournament. And they ended up winning it like 7-6 or something like that. So they got past the 5, and then you have to keep going, right, with your penalty kicks until somebody makes a mistake. And so they ended up winning it, which was just crazy cool. And then the following day they played the next bracket, right? Then they were in the 6th, 7th, and so they won the tournament in, in that age group as well. And it was just kind of cool to see a very similar, like, uh you saw the development of the team, like, progress over time. And it wasn't just something that happened overnight, obviously. And I think that's another thing that, again, when you look back to where you were and you realize, wow, look at how far I've come in this.
Right.
And it's interesting to me, like, even in life, it's interesting. Anna, she's doing this, it's like this 5-day challenge, some like mindset coach that was doing this thing. And he had the same, like, basically the same material last year. And when I was listening to it last year, it was like, okay, yeah, I could work on this and work on this. And it was interesting listening to it this year, how I realized there were so many of those things that I had incorporated into my life, that those are now just kind of part of me, instead of something that I have to, like, think about and screw up or whatever. So, yeah. And then just some cool personal wins from the last quarter, and then the last year. So I'm also curious to, what was your expectation being a coach, and how have you grown in, being a coach this year on the team?
Yeah. What I mean, I even though I played like high level college athletics, there's a difference between, being a player and being a coach. I think
Sure.
learning the some of the ins and outs of coaching, and then also working with other coaches, right, is also kind of like a big win too for me. You know, I felt that my experience as a college athlete got my foot into the door, right? Um, but now it's thinking about the game in a different manner. Because I remember, you and I, maybe sat on a talk, or we listened to a talk one time where they were talking about how it's hard for like superstar athletes. Now, I'm not saying I'm a superstar athlete, but
Not
like
anymore.
like right, like athletes that have gotten like a lot of accolades, um and have this, big fruit on the tree, but also how some of them, they try to become coaches and they're not good at it, because
Yeah.
it's hard for them to teach. It's for them to teach what they did, in a sense, right? Uh, like, teaching intangibles is a little bit different than, you know, teaching X's and O's, right? And so I had to really kind of think about that perspective of, you know, it's funny because I have my son that plays there. So I there's a lot of times where I have to remove myself from, you know, that athlete Ray, and go, you're coaching your son. Your son isn't, he's on a different path than you are, and he's doing things different. He's not you. He's got to learn how to develop some of the things that you had the chance in high school or in college to develop. Like
Yeah.
he's a junior.
Right.
So, um, I think that that part of me uh, has has developed well in learning how to uh, coach high school kids, um, and uh, not just the X's and O's, but in the mentality it takes to develop. You know, uh, like I like to say like playmaking ability. I'm a play be a playmaker, right? Um, because that's what I enjoy doing. So now me learning how to teach that to or coach that to kids is I think it's a good barometer of like how far I've come for this year is when you have a kid um that comes up to you after maybe a big play when they do make a play and go, yeah, this is like this, I just did exactly what you told me to do. It's
That's
like,
awesome.
oh,
Good.
all right, awesome, dude. That's and you celebrate with them.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like uh, like celebrating the wins is can be as simple as that, right? It's not always like sitting down and reflecting, which it can be. I think you can probably uh, gain a little bit more from that when you sit and reflect, but also the ability to do it in those moments, right? I think is and recognize it. I think is
Yeah.
a good way to celebrate those wins.
And I heard a great, so I was speaking at a couple conferences earlier this month, and somebody talked about on a team, it was in a business context, but they said, praise privately quickly, but delay praise publicly. And it was an interesting, like, oh yeah, like doing both, right? Like celebrate the win now and, one on one, because you're just like, dude, you crushed it. But then being able to like register that so that later, right, you delay it, team huddle, whatever, later in the future, you're like, hey, by the way, calling out this guy because of whatever, right? And then because both of those pieces are important, right? Then you get the peers that are also lifting up. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's a really cool thing, man. I've been hearing again, we haven't talked in a couple weeks, and I know that you are doing some busy work and some exciting things, man. Um, I would like to hear some of your wins and how some of these talks that you've been doing. Uh how do you find wins in those in that arena? I think
yeah,
like how do you do that? How do you measure if that's even a thing? How do you measure wins when you're giving talks and um helping out people that may be struggling in their businesses?
yeah. Mm, so those are kind of two different things. Like I think for I was last year, the year before, I really wanted to focus in on. It's not like I haven't spoken in front of people, right? So I was like, how do I lean into that more and do more of that, especially if you're not really known, right? And how do I market? How do I do different things? And it really became this weird like grind that was not fun. I mean, there was a lot of experimentation, honestly, that I did last year just to try to like figure out marketing and what are things. And I realized like, no, I want to be great at something, and I want to be known, and I want to be asked. I don't want to just uh, market myself, right? I want to do this self promotion hype thing because it's really easy to do, and there's plenty of people that exist in the world and online that they are a lot of hype, and I'd rather be known, if that makes sense. So one of the goals that I had for this year coming into 2025 is I said I want to be asked to speak at different places, not because I kind of pushed my way in the door, if that makes sense. So that was, for me, that was kind of a cool win because I said I want to speak at 2 different places and be asked to do so. And that is essentially what happened this year. So I've been asked to speak at 2 different places. That was not something I was necessarily forcing myself into. That being said, measuring the win, it was really interesting. The first conference I was at and speaking at, that was so Andrea, who we did the podcast. I think it released last week, but um, yeah, she's awesome. I mean, it was just so fun because we just got to hanging out, and then all of a sudden it was like we could be siblings, like legit. We could be siblings. And so it was really cool um, to do that with her, right? To speak on the stage at the same time with her. And then I took that same talk and went to another conference. Well, the first conference was good. There was a lot of people that were speaking for the first time that hadn't ever really spoken before. And so it was an interesting dynamic. Some people had spoken a lot, some people had spoken very little.
Mhm.
And it was kind of a little fragmented, which was, it was just interesting. The funny thing is that what happened is every year I go to this conference in Los Angeles with Irwin, so the arena conference.
Yeah.
And so I already have it in my calendar from months ago. And so it was like 3 weeks before the conference was supposed to happen. They just said, because if you know, following what happened with Mosaic, right? They moved out of their building and they've been kind of like nomads. So anyway, so they ended up canceling the conference. Well, I had different friends that I've connected with from coming from Europe and different parts of the United States that were already going to be in LA. Same with me. Like I already kind of like had arranged my schedule to be in Los Angeles. And so like, what are we going to do? And so I said, well, why don't we just throw a conference? Like, why don't we just do it? Like we're all a lot of coaches, a lot of pastors, a lot of teachers, like a lot of people that speak in front of people all the time. Why don't we just throw something on and try it out and kind of model it after TEDx,
Yeah.
like TED was the big conference and then TEDx was all these little pop-ups. I was like, let's just do that. And it was awesome. It was, so the one right, the one that I did the week before was very much promoted, marketed, pushed, and then the quality of speaker wasn't bad. It wasn't great, if that makes sense.
Sure.
When I went to this no podium, is what we ended up calling it. It was just like, hey, no podium. Like we're just going to show up. And what we did is we said, okay, we've got 2 different guys that are keynotes, and they asked me to be one of them. And then Andrew Burkham, he'd be a phenomenal podcast guest. Um, Actually, everybody spoke there would be phenomenal. They were amazing. He was going to anchor it and do it. And we were only 20 minutes, right? So these are pretty short talks. But then everybody else, we gave 10 minutes. And holy cow, man, like the quality of people that spoke was just unbelievable. Like
Wow.
it was off the charts. Like it was way better than anything that I could have imagined it would have been. Like we literally were just like, yeah, show up, see what happens. And the the talks that people gave in those 10 minutes were just on. Anyway, I couldn't, I can't say enough great things about it. I was by far probably the worst speaker there, which I'm not like being humble about that. Like, cause at the previous conference, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was one of the better speakers at that first conference. And it also proved kind of the concept of like be the dumbest guy in the room, right? Or be like the worst at something, right? When you play on a team that all of a sudden everybody's way better than you, it automatically makes you get better. Like when
Yeah.
I remember playing music when I was a kid, I'm like eighth grade and banging out stuff on the guitar. And then I'd go hang out with all these high schoolers that were real musicians, like that really knew how to play. And even just being around people that were way better than you, all of a sudden it just elevated your game. So for me, it was a huge win because I started the conference, right? And then I just got to sit back and like glean from everybody. I'm like, holy cow, I need to step my game up. You know what I mean? Like it was really cool. It was really fun to anyway to be a part and
Nice.
excited to see what that could become because I was like, man, there's such a need for this because you have now I'm kind of riffing, but kind of because then you have on one side you've got the big speakers, right? You've got like all these people that it's $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 to have them come speak at a conference because they're like a NASA astronaut or something, right? And then you have all the way down to zero. Well, then I mean, how do people get found? One, how do people actually practice their craft? Because it is a practice. Like in order to speak and present and get really good and really dialed, like you have to put in the reps. Same with what we're doing with this podcast. Got to have put in the reps. And so it's going to be fun, man. I mean, the more that the team and I have been talking about it, and the team that came together to make this happen was unbelievable as well. like Serena, who came in from North Carolina, and that's part of what she does is just like put on real conferences, right? And she's like,
Yeah.
"Well, this is easy. Let's just put this together." And then Ilani, um, who's Hawaiian, so that's I got the name right, Ihlani. Um, she was amazing, and she's just like put stuff together. And then Andrew, anyway, the whole team that came together to make that happen was just super cool. So we're figuring out what is the next thing that we want to do with that, because I was like, dude, I could totally see this standing. Like we do a stand up in Seattle, we do a stand up in Bozeman, we do a stand up in different places, and then take the best of the best speakers, if you will, and then it becomes like the farm leagues. People can show up, speak, present, and then move them up into the bigger echelons,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know,
Nice.
man. It was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a different part of my brain, and then working with companies. So there's that. Then the working with companies thing is I start to help reflect back on here's how far we've come. It actually came from, so I was talking about the gap in the gain before I even ever read that book. I may have told you the story. So it was like I was right in this transition period of my life, and I'm going to go. I was just getting out of master's commission. I was going to go be a youth pastor, trying to figure it out. And I was just kind of praying one day, and I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm a little scared about this transition and what it's going to mean, and it's part of growing up. And I was walking to this creek, and I see this stream, and I see it kind of like going down, and it's waves and rapids and bends and turns, and all of a sudden I don't know where it's going. Right, I can't see it anymore, and kind of had this vision, if you will, kind of the Holy Spirit being like, yeah, but like that's your life, like that's going. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can do that. And then it was same like the Holy Spirit, like, yeah, but turn around and look at how far you've come, right? And you look back up the river, and you're like, oh, okay, I didn't know it was back there either. So I guess I'm just gonna keep going, right? I'm going to keep moving forward and being faithful, and like handle the rapids and handle the twists and turns as they come my way. So with companies, as we reflect back, so we've got this cadence that we have a company that's meeting every week, so that they're making sure that they're on track, and it's holding them accountable to, hey, I said I was going to do this. Here's the due date. Everybody gets the thing done the day before, because we all procrastinate. It's just true. The quarterly meeting is really where we have that time to reflect, and then the annual meeting is to go even deeper there. And it's cool. The companies that I've worked with for several years, seeing how far that they've come, and they don't necessarily see it because they're in it all the time. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yep.
Because if you're in the company and it's just like in your face all the time, versus somebody that I just have snapshots that I come in, and I'm able to help remind them, hey, do you remember where we were a year ago? Do you remember where you were 2 months ago?
Yeah.
You were here, and now we're here. One of the biggest wins was a company. Um, can't tell you where they're located or what they are, who they are, but they were in a really bad spot this time last year. And I went to coffee with the owner, and he's like, I might have to fold. I mean, he was close to $1 million in debt, and had no real plan or way to get out of it. And
Yeah.
so, but we kind of put together the plan. And so seeing this year, the transformation, and it wasn't like it was easy. Like it was hell for the last year, like digging out of this thing. But now that they've turned that corner, it's like, holy cow, like the things that they learned, they got wiser, smarter. The team is better. So this year going into 2026, man, 2026 for them is going to be a huge year. I mean, they're going to be stupid profitable, and they're going to do some great things, right? But it's also having a little bit of outside perspective and help reminding, because it's easy to even get down on yourselves now, like, oh man, we're not where we want to be. It's like, yeah, you're not where you want to be, but holy cow, look at how far you've come from where you were. And I think if you keep that perspective in mind, and you're constantly getting better, I think that too often people don't do that. They don't actually reflect back on what are the things that we learned, where were we, where are we now. And because I think that, in my opinion, that seems to be a bigger, better motivator when people can look back and compare themselves to themselves, rather than this unattainable future state on TikTok that is unrealistic for even the person putting the video up, right? So I don't know. There you go. That's been the last few weeks for me.
Yeah. There's that there's change where it's temporary, and there's change that is like you said, like like, not, I don't know if permanent is the right word, but it becomes a part of you,
Yeah.
right? Um, and it sounds like, man, that's pretty cool that you know, you're helping you're helping companies kind of you're kind of that guy, that 30-foot thousand view, right? You're on that helicopter going, well, we got the suspect. No, I'm just kidding. Um, hmm, like you have a clear view of where things are going, right? What street they're going to turn on, right? Or and you're giving instructions from that top view, because you can see further than the people that are in the grind sometimes. So I think that's really cool. I I was thinking too, like, my own personal profession, being a counselor. I kind of mentioned couple podcasts, and you and I have talked about um me starting uh kind of my counseling curriculum,
Yeah.
uh calling it the huddle. Boy, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Tell me.
yeah, it's tough to, well, I'm kind of the only one kind of doing it, which makes
Hmm.
it makes it hard to see some wins sometimes.
Only one
Because
doing it, like, because it's yours, or the only one doing it because, like, you're the only counselor on the school, or
uh I'm, well, both.
okay.
I am, well, I'm one of two counselors, but
Oh, right, right.
I'm the one really spearheading this whole thing, um, which came out of a kind of a necessity, because the previous thing, you know, it kind of fell through, and we didn't have a curriculum. So, so basically I'm making up the lessons as we go each month.
Nice.
I thought I was kind of ahead with November's, or yeah, November's. It's man, it's the 28th.
So what have been the lessons so far? Like, what are the, because is it have September and October in the books?
September, October is in the books.
Nice.
November, I have a starting. It's ready to go. I think I just need to um film a couple teachers to kind of help ground it in our school community.
Yeah.
I
So what?
think that's kind of been the maybe some of the challenges for me. I actually had a, like, so we do morning announcements, and the morning announcements for our school, right? Like, everybody does the same thing. And so I was chatting with our librarian, who's also kind of our creative media arts person. And I was telling her, I said, it takes a long time to edit some of these, and then like going and getting filming. What do you think about me, you know, hiring some of these kids to, help me out? And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. And so I threw it out there on the morning announcements, and, like, I only need maybe 3, right? Just a couple kids to help me film, and maybe do some editing, and in the process, helping them
Yeah.
understand it,
Right.
and what it looks like to put something together, and, like, 30 kids.
Dude, that's
Not to
awesome.
mention, like, the passersby, they go, "Hey, Mr. Sebastian, did you find anybody for this yet?" And I'm like, boy, but it was cool though. Like, I kind of presented it as a kind of an interview. Like, you have to.
Yeah.
There's a couple criterias that I'm looking for, right? So I got like 30 kids that are just kind of sitting in my email. And as I go through it, I'm thinking to myself, I can't just take kids out of class and have them go film and edit stuff for me. Like, I didn't, like, think it through. I All I thought of in that moment was I need some help to do this stuff. Um, so, I'm kinda stuck right there right now, and, these kids that are wanting to be part of my Huddle film crew, uh, they're kinda just, like, waiting right now, and
Yeah.
And what when you do these things, right? You're wanting to win. Things are getting uh there's starting to have some traction. Kids are wanting to be part of it, which is what I want, right? That's what you want. You want kids to buy in, and the way you buy in is by having them be involved. Um, Now you, you're going through the experience and you're fine tuning along the way. And so I had to like start talking to my administrator about, hey, maybe I can do a learning lab of some sort where, I can grab these kids and we can do something. But that takes time. We're about to end a trimester, and it takes time to build out those things. So, um, you know, I'm kind of I'm I celebrate the wins, but also at the same time, I'm also looking at the new issues or the things I got to work through as well. I think that's what comes with those wins when you look back
Oh,
and
yeah.
reflect, right? Yeah, great, we got it off the ground. But also, I believe I heard a pastor say this, like when you elevate to a new level, there's new devils, right? And you just got to like learn how to conquer those new things. And um it's been good, man. I think uh, certainly as far as the curriculum goes, there's been some pretty good buy-in.
That's
Um,
cool.
I'm trying to figure out how to kind of just like keep it engaging. It's kind of it's tough because you're coming up with new concepts, but are still familiar, right? Like huddle, play, huddle. Like how do you incorporate that into a 20-minute um 20-minute time period for teachers to teach,
Hmm.
right? And then not only that, but to hopefully um that students are receiving the same message going out. And it's tough, man, because um the environment, sometimes the environment where you are teaching something like this, or just anything in general, can be really uh really tough. Like classrooms can be a tough place to um to hold students attention. You can hold there could be times where you can hold a couple students attention. There's always those outliers that can really get a class like off topic. So a lot of it is right. I even wrote like a thing for teachers, right? Kind of the concept that you and I have always um, kind of talked about when it comes to just right before you're about to start a talk. Like there's a couple ways that you can do this, right? There's a couple ways that an audience can receive, right? You're here, you can just do this, like this is a slide, I'm going to run through the slides, or you can engage with the slides, you can share your own personal like experience, which is what kids need. They need
Yep.
perspective, right?
Yep.
So there's always that piece that I'm hoping um this kind of creates a buy-in from the teachers as well.
Yeah.
um yeah. So
What was lesson one and lesson two from September and October?
so yeah, lesson one was respect. There's whole lot of disrespect uh going on, and I felt that you know it was a good kind of a starter, a good baseline for um hopefully getting that culture across in our school. I don't know if there's teachers out there that understand what I mean when it comes to the level of um kind of that there's a lot of disrespect going on, man. And um
Against like towards teachers or students to each other?
yeah,
I'm sure, but
like student teachers, I think there's just a lack of respect for authority, and for people that have gone like further than you have, that have experience in life. which I mean, it's always been that way. I mean, kids think they know a lot more, but I think it's gotten um w- uh like tougher these days because you, like it's kids have information and they have knowledge in the palm of their hands, right? So um what does the teacher have to offer me that I can't find myself? Well, focus, intentionality, some intangible things in life, right? Uh, that teacher and perspective that teachers can offer. Now, you as a educator or myself as a counselor that I run into a lot is that to is having kids that um that I'm sitting in front of and helping them understand that I care about your situation and um and here's why, right? Because they don't they can look all this stuff up themselves, right? Like I said, um so now it's just um yeah, having myself in there and helping them understand and giving that and them understanding that okay, maybe this guy does have something to say and I should just kind of be quiet and listen.
Yeah. I wonder if that's like, it's even the, you know, I've talked about experiential education before, right? And I think that it seems to me that like coaching is way more practical, I think, in a lot of people's minds because it's like, yeah, you can look up all you want on ChatGPT about how to run this play, right? But that's not going to help you in life, right? And I think in the same way, yeah, there's probably some things that it's teaching you how to think, not necessarily how to get information, whether it's math or science or whatever, whatever the thing is. Like, well, why do I need to learn that? Yeah, I can just hear the attitudes in people. Like, well, this is dumb. I'm never going to use this in real life. I had that attitude with lots of things when I was in high school, right? Yeah, and it's true. There's a lot of things that I learned that yeah, I'm not actually using that specific thing. Like, I don't think I've done an actual like yeah, but I use algebraic equations all the time, like in my head. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, that's interesting.
I think you hit it on the head right there when you said uh, not teaching kids like how to look, not how to look at something, but like giving them information. It's more of that. Uh, like learning how to be part of a class, learning how to listen to an adult, right? How to like I said, it's it's intangible things, and not only just to listen, but to enjoy the company of others, right?
Hmm.
Or somebody that cares about you and and put in some time to give you this presentation about a certain topic, right? Like that. Like I think that's lacking a lot because uh, you know, like I said, just kids these days, man, they think they know everything and that they don't need. So I guess that's what I'm saying is learning how to learn,
Yes.
especially middle school, right? Middle school, you know, it's preparing you for high school, right? And yes, there's some knowledge and education, but it's how you learn how to learn.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. So it was lesson two. So respect was number one, and then what was?
Yeah. So this month was responsibility.
Mm, nice.
Yeah. It's it was good. It just things that we're hitting on daily that we all experience: respect, responsibility, right? That a lot of that ties into your education, your work. Your education is your responsibility, not mom's, not dad's. It's yours. It's not your teacher's. It's yours. We'll guide you along the way, but ultimately you got to make choices. Huh? here we are.
Here we are
On
again. Yeah.
basis. Um, yeah, it's been good. And then this next month is going to be on perseverance. Um,
Ooh.
yeah. So
Yeah. That's good.
yeah, it'll be yeah. I think for myself again, I sometimes I feel like I'm kind of in a vacuum a little bit because I'm like I said I'm putting these together myself, and I sometimes I'm trying to get some feedback on it and like like in school. So and I've been getting good feedback, in general, but I haven't sat down and like chatted up with anybody that is like bought in like I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
I get
and
that.
has put the time in that I have put in because I'm the only one that's putting time into it, right? So, um,
Well, now
yeah,
you got
sometimes it
30 students, they're gonna help you out, so
well, I don't yet, though that's the thing, right? I wish. Um, yeah, no, yeah, I just think I feel that there's certainly gonna be a lot of kind of growing pains and learning what sticks and what doesn't, and
yeah.
yeah.
I think that's part of it as well, meaning I think even if you use it as yourself as your own, like, object lesson, if you will, because, yeah, ChatGPT, I could say, "Hey, give me a thing on this," and it'll kick out whatever, but it's not yours, right? It's not unique to you and your experiences and whatever. So I think even just like using that as a model, say, listen, like this is perseverance in action. Because do I want to show up every day? No, heck no. And but you're showing up anyway, right? You're doing the hard thing anyway. Dude, I'm so excited for it because here's what I see. I see that you're taking it, and I know that probably this year is just figuring it out. Next year, I think is probably a lot of refinement, and I think the year after that, dude, it could help so many other schools, teachers, parents. Like that in my mind is like, and we've talked about this before, where I'm always like, hey, Ray, East Helena is a great place, but I think your voice needs to be bigger than that, right? It needs to be lots of different places and schools.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. I have to say maybe more on like a personal note too. Like, um, sometimes kind of feeling lost with certain projects like this. Like, like it kind of bleeds into your own personal, where you kind of feel a little lost, and you're just kind of like, what do I do? I don't know what do I know what am I doing? Like doubt starts to creep in, and Um, I'm kind of going through like a phase like that right now, where like I don't know, like I'm feel like I'm kind of doubting myself, whether it's whether it's my job or as a coach, and um and I'm kind of seeing it with a lot of uh especially my job, man. My job can get as a school counselor, it can get heavy, because there's a lot of I mean, it's in the name, right? You're counseling people,
Yeah. Right.
and usually when you're counseling people, it's not about necessarily about easy stuff. It's about stuff that's going awry in their own personal lives. When it comes to students, man, it's I don't know if it's the change of weather. It's getting colder now, right? So like it's driving a lot of people inside and staying inside, myself included. Um, and like trying to like stay mentally focused, it can be tough, like personally, right? When you're kind of hearing, right? And I just talked to you about the disrespect that's going on at school, and then you have kids that are those very same kids that are in your office asking for help. You know what I mean? And like finding, I think you could call it like an empathy burnout kind of deal, or
Mm.
whatever the term is. Um, just that those struggles that we have to you have to learn how to go through, which I think is really cool for this next lesson, is that perseverance part. And um Yeah, I guess that, like, just to be vulnerable and upfront, like, I'm struggling personally with staying on track, and like self doubt right now is something that I'm kind of trying to overcome. And I think this topic of celebrating wins is it helps me to remember that, because we're still still moving forward. And
Yeah. 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 If I just speak to that, because I think the stepping out and doing the huddle thing, like when you first said it, I was just like, yes. Like when you told me, a few months ago that that's what you were doing, I was like, yeah, it needs to happen
yeah,
because you're right. You have a very unique perspective that other people don't have. And so like being able to layer that perspective and then your real, life journey in that as well that's huge because you, yeah. But I hear you on the empathy burnout. You're just like, how about you just don't do stupid things and right? And then we won't have these problems. And where's your brain? And I get it, man. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Can you develop your frontal lobe, please?
Please. Let's get there. Let's get there. Oh my gosh. Yeah. 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 I mean, yeah, one of the talks that I heard at the No Podium conference, this is gal and she was talking about how did she put it really eloquently, and I'm going to butcher it, but basically it's like the lost empathy of high achievers, meaning that empathy, and the way she put it, she's like, empathy usually flows to people that are visibly struggling, right? Empathy usually flows to people but people lose empathy for people that are high performers because they are high performers, right? They're able to take on a heavier load than most people. And so people just assume that they're okay,
Yeah,
right? Instead of being like, no, no, they're probably struggling too. They're just not wearing it on their sleeve, right? They are going through stuff too. And so it's being aware and having your radar up, like don't don't lose sight of having empathy of people that are kicking butt and doing great things, right? So yeah,
yeah.
anyway,
That's good stuff, man.
yeah,
Everybody needs a little, everybody needs
everybody,
a little love every once in a while, you know?
yeah, yeah. So what do you? I mean, once football season's up, I mean, it's been a busy season for you. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you know, coaching football and then doing everything that you're doing. When does football? So obviously you got this playoff game. Like how far does it go? Does it go to like Thanksgiving? Let's say you guys go all the way. When does championship happen?
So this week, next week, and then basically, if we go all out. I mean, we have another 3 weeks of football.
Okay, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's good, man. Like, you know, yeah, it's good. It's gotten. What's really cool, man? Like, we had the freshmen finished up their season
sure. Yeah.
recently, last week. And we the game that we had, our last game against Furious, they were up on us like 0 to 18 at half, and we weren't playing very good. We weren't playing, and I know for a fact that they had a lot of uh, JV guys playing
Oh,
against our
non-freshman.
freshman guys,
Right.
right? And so, but still, we weren't putting up a very good fight, and we were making a lot of mental mistakes. And you know, our freshman coach, just a really good guy, really like knowledgeable guy, um, and just just loves the game of football, loves the players. Um, he kind of we were walking in, and he goes, "What I'm about to do, guys, I'm gonna do it because I love these guys and I know that we're better than this." And so he got really emotional in the locker room. A really succinct, high volume conversations with his players. It was a coach coaching his players, and it just sparked. Um, the players to the point where we came back and we went right at it, right from the get go, and we ended up losing the game, 21-23.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we stopped them, and we just we kind of found ourselves that based on the belief that like the coach had in them, and they rose up to the occasion. And so, like, I think, sometimes celebrating the wins looks like that, right? Uh, is a coach making the choice to, um, to have a heart-to-heart conversation with his players and saying, "You're freaking better than this. Knock that
Yeah.
crap off. Let's
Let's go.
get going."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of gave myself a pep talk.
Nice. You're like, all right, Ray, suck it up. Here we go. You're better than
Right.
this. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, we should probably wrap.
Sounds good, man.